For all things outdoors, listen to the father of two, the Jesus-loving TV show hosting hairy, true-blood American redneck, Ben Cole.
And listen to the outdoor filming, chef cooking, chocolate milk drinking, John Weismuller. And we are
Rooted Podcast.
Good morning, everybody. We have a special guest today on the Rooted Podcast, and his name is Tyler Jordan of Realtree. Tyler, thank you so much for being on. We welcome you and look forward to seeing what you've got to say.
Man, we appreciate it. Had a little bit of technical difficulty, getting on here this morning, but, I think I've solved that. Hopefully now figured out the cell phone. And I know we talked about this at NWTF about coming on here, so I appreciate both of y'all having me on this morning.
Absolutely, man. So, with turkey season coming up, getting a little fired up here, I'm getting really excited to jump into the woods. In fact, we've already been out filming and doing photography work to try to get some B-roll and pre-roll for the season and all that. But I have to know, so what was it like growing up with a dad that had you so involved in the woods and in hunting and that atmosphere?
Yeah, I've been super lucky, along with probably y'all to, come from families that, are really involved in the outdoors and, obviously dad in the business. I was really lucky to have him, kind of be my mentor and still is to this day. But, sitting beside him when I was 3 or 4 years old going turkey hunting, and then when I was probably 8 or 9 is when I went deer hunting for the first time. But, I always wanted to be like my dad, even from a really young age. And so, I think, that's why probably turkey hunting is some of my favorite, things to do, even still. Like I love to deer hunt, but turkey hunting just has a special meaning to me. Just because Dad and I, that was how we first bonded. I think our friendship and our relationship stemmed from some of those early days. Sharing the woods together, tucked up against a tree with him. So. I hope that a lot of kids that got introduced to hunting, it may be a dad, a granddad, or a relative or whatever. I mean, you just really get to know somebody and, develop a strong bond when you're able to share those moments together.
Yeah, I totally agree, Tyler. It's like, for me and my dad, it was the same thing. He took me turkey hunting, and now, I just can't get enough of it. I mean, how do you feel about bringing new people into hunting? Because, there's some people that may say that we don't need new hunters, and some people say we do. And it sounds like, for us, it's very special for us to bring new people on board, especially if it's family.
Yeah, it's a tough question to answer, right? I mean, I guess I understand, about not maybe wanting to bring new people on. I think where it's a little bit discouraging. You look around and y'all are probably a little bit of the same way. I've been blessed with, I have opportunities to go places. My family has land here in Georgia that I'm able to hunt. I'm able to take new hunters on here. We try to take at least, 5 to 10 different kids and families on our place a year, whether it's deer hunting or turkey hunting. And I do that just because, man, hunting in the outdoors has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I don't want to ever, not give that opportunity to somebody else. On the flip side of that, I look at it and I understand that it's, access to land is very limited.
Sure.
I grew up, my brother and sister are a lot younger than me. We're separated by about 15 to 17 years apart. But I'd probably say a third of my grade hunted or fished in some way. And then now you look at it, it's a lot less than that. He maybe has, 3 to 5 buddies that hunts, with him. So it's just it's a different day and age of, and I think a lot of that is just access is very limited. There's a lot of hunting clubs in and around us where, that were around back then are not around today. Those lands have been developed. It's leased out to the highest bidder. So, I don't really know how to answer that question. It's tough. I like, doing it how we do it, taking people, at least exposing them and giving them the opportunity to learn it. But from then, it's really tough of what's next. It's tough just to go find access because it's harder and harder today. I mean, we face the same thing. I mean, whether it's somewhere in the Midwest, trying to find, turkey leases or, deer places to hunt. They're few and far between today. And I kind of fear that problem is only going to get worse.
No,
Yeah,
I agree
I
with what you're
totally
saying
agree with you.
there. And, from my standpoint, it's almost like a catch 22, like what you're saying. I love taking people, I love introducing kids, especially to the woods, because, like both of y'all, my dad took me when I was 6 years old and started that duck hunting train that we didn't even know was even going to be a thing. And I was so consumed with it after
Right.
that, that that's all I thought about. That's all I talked about. That's all I cared about doing was duck hunting and figuring it out. I mean, we hunted public land for 20 years straight. And that's all we did was hunt the public waters
Yeah.
in Alabama there, Lake Gunnersville. And we just had to kind of figure it out, and I would say that's probably, one of the biggest things that or resources that you have is some public land. Depending on your state, there's more in different states, for wherever you are. But for me, that was how I got into it was through the public land, and it really helped me having a dad, like you guys, getting started and taking me out there, and
Mhm.
just giving me the tools that I needed to get started. Because I've mentioned this before, but my dad didn't have a clue about hunting. And I was so consumed with animals and all that stuff and wanting to learn how to hunt. He said, well, I mean, I'll take you. And he bought all these books just to read them and learn about how to hunt so he could at least teach me something. So, I have to give my dad credit there. He was
Well,
the catalyst that got me started there. And as a dad myself, my little boy is getting up to that age to where probably this spring he may go to the woods with me. He'll be 3 in April. So we're going to start getting him into the woods and see what we can't do on that front. At least let him, go try it this deer season. Maybe let him go sit in the shooting house with me with a heater, or something like that, just to get him
Yeah.
out in the woods and let him experience, what that's all about. But in light of turkey season, um, for somebody that's beginning turkey hunting, what kind of tips do you have for somebody just getting into it? Maybe a certain way to call, a type of call, how to, figure out where the birds are. Do you have any tips for new hunters?
Yeah, I don't know so much about, just like hard tips. I know like for my younger siblings, like I think where we really started with them and where it's still a ton of fun is obviously calling is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually you realize that maybe less is more with the calling, but
Yeah.
calling, for a lot of young kids, looking to get involved and even adults too, like that's what makes turkey hunting, look and feel different than, sometimes duck and deer.
Mm-hmm.
So, like how I kind of started with them, got them a box call, a pot call. Now he's starting to run a mouth call and, he sounds pretty good, for his age. And, that's kind of what makes that a lot of fun and interactive. And then going out and, just trying to go listen to them. I think, when you hear turkeys for the first time, you kind of get a little bit of that bug. It's kind of hard not to. You're like, oh, this is fun. That chess match of turkey hunting is what makes it probably my favorite. I mean, you have that with deer and ducks as well, but every turkey hunt I feel like I've been on, one day they can make you feel like you're a really good turkey hunter, and then like the very next day, you could.
oh my goodness, yeah, turkeys will drive you crazy, dude. Like one day you'll think you know 'em, and then the next you just don't.
Yeah,
And I mean, it really is wild. So it's like, and now there's so much changing in the turkey game. I mean, whether it's calls or stuff that plays wet. I'm sure whenever you were growing up, if it rained, it kind of meant that turkey calling was maybe not so great that day. um,
yeah,
but
and
ammo as well. It's like and maybe your siblings do this a little different. Like I'm sure whatever shell they're shooting is not the shell you started out with.
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean that, and I think that's just what, it's the perfect animal to start a new hunter off with. I mean, to me,
I
you learn a
agree.
lot about woodsmanship, turkey hunting. You just I think there's so much to be gained from introducing somebody on a turkey hunt if that's their first hunt they're going to do as a new hunter. It's the perfect one to do. So um, it's definitely got a special place in my heart.
Me too, brother. Me too. Speaking of shells real quick, I just got to know, like, do you shoot TSS now with this whole, TSS train, or do you stick to something that's worked tried and true for you for your whole
Yeah,
life?
yeah, I am shooting TSS. I've probably been doing that for about 5 years. Um, I have the 9 shot TSS and, just really like the pattern on that, a lot of coverage on that
Hmm.
9 shot. So, that's something I've been doing. I shoot a 20 gauge Bronchi, the Affinity 3 with that TSS 9 shot. And I've been super pleased with that. And my brother's starting to shoot that now as well. So is my sister. So, um, I think most of our team probably has, that 9 shot TSS, but it's worked really well for us.
Awesome. Awesome, man. So I've been using that TSS as well. And last year, it was a pretty crazy deal. We had opening day of turkey here in Tennessee, and me and my two like lifetime best friends, we were best friends when we were little bitty. They came up here and hunted with me, and one of them is a veteran too, Kane. And so it's Kane and Kaysen, and we were going out to try to get a triple that morning because we've never done it. Me and John doubled 2 years ago for the first time ever in Texas, and then we end up here in Tennessee, and man, so Kaysen hand loads his own shells. So I said, "Hey man, will you bring me a couple of those? I want to try them out at least, and see how they do." And oh man, it's that hot TSS load, and these birds came in right off the rip, gobbling, strutting, doing the whole works, just put on a show for us. And he shoots first, and I'm sitting there trying to shoot, and I didn't have the action pushed all the way up. I didn't slam it, and I was like, click, click. I was like, dadgummit, come on. And he handed me his gun, and boom. And afterwards, he said, man, the gunpowder went all in my eyes. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. But I got paid back immediately because I tripped over some barbed wire and went face first. Wham! Right. I mean, just a
Oh
few
no.
seconds after that, face planted. But it was, it was a really cool hunt. And Kane ended up getting a bird. So we did end up tripling that day. Very first time all three of us have turkey hunted together in years. So, man, I have to know though, speaking of being in the woods and, trying to hide from these birds, because turkeys have excellent vision, right? They can see anything and everything. Of all the real tree patterns, which one is your favorite, or do you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's probably tough for me to pick a favorite, but if I had to just go and pick one, it's probably the one that I have on right now, which is
Mm-hmm.
Advantage Classic. I really like Realtree Original as well, just because I mean that's obviously where everything started. So it's got a special place in my heart. And as I think as as time goes on, it seems like those older patterns are making their way back, which has been kind of fun for me. Like this is a new wax jacket from Banded that they're going to be releasing this fall. But I killed my first turkey in this pattern. I also shot my first deer in this pattern. So
Oh,
like to me, it has a sentimental value. And I think what's been a little bit of a pleasant surprise for us is like on Realtree.com when we're selling, some of our new products like Bandits carrying Realtree Original. We have some Nomad stuff in Advantage Classic. Well, they've been our number one and two sellers on Realtree.com. So, um, I can't say, part of me that might surprise me a little bit, but it just shows that like vintage and old school is kind of in right now. It seems like it's kind of the look and vibe that people are going for. So, there's part of me that likes them for that reason as well. Just that old school look and feel. But, to me, it's a mix of that and just, I had some of my best and fondest memories in these same camo patterns.
wow, that's pretty incredible that you can kind of remember, which pattern it was. I mean, do you have a favorite memory? Like is killing your first turkey your favorite hunting memory in that pattern, or is it something else? Or I mean, because I know you have a lot of experiences.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would say the first turkey hunt and deer hunt just meant a ton to me because I grew up, I think I killed my first deer when I was 9, my first turkey when I was 8. But to me, I just thought I was one of my dad's buds, when I finally got the chance to do that. Like I felt like one of just the cool kids, like I grew up watching him go off to the Milk River, Kansas, travel all over the country. And man, I just wanted to experience that with him and, finally be
Yeah,
a part of that lifestyle and that club. So, I think, that first turkey hunt I remember really well. Still have that turkey mount that's in our lodge at the farm. And, to me,
nice.
I was like, man, it was kind of my, kind of coming into that, whole hunting experience, like in a big way. I'd always sat by his side, but pulling the trigger, I was like, man, I'm one of them now. It was a really cool moment. And then, the deer hunt the same way. So, I mean, there's something about a first, anything that you do in the outdoors that you're always going to remember. And, to this day, like I may have, I may not remember the second, third, fourth, super well, but those first, like in a way, I kind of remember it like it was yesterday. It
Hmm.
just leaves such a big impact on you.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah, no two ways about that. So, if you don't mind, would you kind of give us how that hunt unfolded, your first hunt, and just kind of lay it out there for us so we can kind of be right there with you and because I want
He
to hear
locked
this
up
story.
on
I
me.
want to hear
Yeah, he
what your
did me
first
too.
turkey hunt was like.
There he is.
Yeah, my first turkey hunt. So my dad and I went to the lease. We had a lease, probably about 30 miles north of Columbus, where I live now and where we're from. But we went up there and we kind of knew where some birds were, but we had two turkeys. We knew exactly where they were roosted. They were roosted on the other side of this food plot. And so we were going to set up on the other side of this food plot because there were hens and at least two longbeards that were roosted in those trees. And so we just figured it was too big of a risk. It was a really small field, so to get on that same side with them, just busting them out of there. Um, and I also think it was opening weekend, so it was really early in the season. And so we went in there, roosted the turkeys. And now that I'm thinking about it, it was probably a few days after the opener because it was during school. I remember my mom called the teacher. I think it was like, hey, Tyler's probably going to miss tomorrow if that's okay. And so we took off, and Dad and I went, and one turkey, for whatever reason, just liked Dad's calling and broke away from the bunch and came over there and checked us out. And so I remember this too. The turkey had one eye, which I had not
Ooh.
really. I don't know if I've ever really shot a turkey before with one eye, but this one had just one eye coming in there. Um, so made a good shot, and so pretty cool memory.
Dude, that's awesome.
That
So
is awesome.
surely the teacher knew who like your dad was and who you were, like the whole dynamic. I mean, surely the teacher was okay with it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I was 8 or 9 years old, right? I mean, I honestly don't really know, and like, that's something else for me growing up. Like, I don't think I, I don't think I fully appreciated the whole Realtree deal until I was probably 12, 13 years old.
Okay,
Like, it just never registered with me. I just remember it
sure.
took me a while, right? I mean, it just, uh, to me, this may sound silly. I mean, Dad was on TNN, and was obviously one of the bigger hunting names and brands, during that time period. But to me, it just never clicked. And maybe I was just a slow learner, but I was just to me, it just was not that big of a deal. Ever since I was 3 or 4, Dad's always had a camera. So I think
Mhm.
part of me was like, man, I think everybody's got a camera, right? I mean, everybody films with a
Sure.
camera. So I mean, it was nothing too new and special. Um, so yeah, I was happy that she at least gave us her blessing to go out there and try it.
Gotta love teachers like that.
That's right. I don't think you have many of those. I don't know if I had many teachers that approved of that, but that one I do remember it was like
Yeah.
he's good to miss a day.
Oh yeah. I'm the same way. I went on a duck hunt one time with my trap shooting team, and it was a big ordeal, man. I had to talk to the counselor and all that, and I was like, listen, y'all, I don't know if y'all realize I'm not asking to be gone. I'm telling you, I will not be here during these days. I'm going on a duck hunt.
I'm not asking permission. I'm doing
Yeah,
this.
I'm
Yeah.
out of here. Sorry.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, that's it.
We
I
all
tell
have.
you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we all have. I used to do that all the time. In fact, when I was a kid, I would call my grandmother to come get me from school because I knew my mom wouldn't come get me. So I would call her and say, "Look, I don't feel good. Will you come get me?" And every time she'd show up to get me, until my mom figured out that I was going rabbit hunting with her neighbor. so so when she figured that out, she was like, "Okay, no more." Cut it off right there. I mean, I'd miss like 5 or 6 days of school just to go rabbit hunting.
Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
do. You do.
Dude, so
It's always been a passion to be
go
in the
ahead, man.
woods, and it's more about, for me, just watching God's creation come to light and being with good buddies and having that fellowship in the woods. That's what it is for me. And John, I didn't mean to cut you off on your question, but that
No, you're
that
good. You're good.
for
Go.
me is what it's all about, is the fellowship and God's creation and putting meat on the table. I mean, I love eating turkey. Love it.
Yeah, no, same here. I mean, like you said about the fellowship and having friends. I mean, it kind of goes back to the first deal about, how we talked about introducing people into this space. Do you do it or not do it? I think I don't want to ever, if I have the opportunity to share that with somebody and introduce them and they have a desire and want to go and do it, I'm going to do that because my my best friends, my best relationships, yes, we have a business tied to this for sure, but my best friendships in life have all stemmed from hunting in the outdoors. Still, my best friends, I mean, they share the same passion that I do, and that's people that I went to school with that don't even work in this business. So, and I think I watch my brother and sister even too, like a lot of their friends, like this is where lifetime bonds are created right here. And then
Mhm.
my wife and I, we always love to, we cook wild game at least 3, 4 nights a week.
Mm,
So,
great.
that's something that we love to do and come up with different ways to cook. And, um, it's a lifestyle. And if somebody has a burning desire to get into this and try it and, wants to learn how to shoot a bow or, man, let's go turkey hunting. I know a place to go. And I'm like, sure, I'd love to go join. If that's something you want to go do, like,
Mhm.
especially for somebody new,
Absolutely.
I would, I'm not going to ever deprive or say, no, we don't need more hunters in this space. I just, part of me is like, it's a little bit selfish. If somebody asks me or if I know of somebody that wants to go and try it, by all means, if I have the means necessary to, provide that opportunity, that's what I'm going to do.
I think that's the right mindset too. It's like, I mean, because I know for me, there was definitely a time where I didn't have the resources I do now. So if I can help somebody, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I'm never going to force it on somebody.
No, no,
If somebody wants to go try it, but I get asked a lot. Like when I was in school at Ole Miss, a couple of my buddies, wanted to go and try duck hunting. So we went down to Honey Break and took some of them for the first time, and then from there, like they enjoyed that hunt, and some of them now have tried turkey hunting
hmm
on some family land that they know about, and so man, I think that's a great thing.
I agree. So you talked about cooking there for a second. Uh, one of the things that I do, and I don't really talk about it often, but I'm a halfway decent cook in the kitchen, kind of, sort of.
He's
So I'm
very
just
good,
wondering, what's
top
your
notch chef, excellent
uh,
with the kitchen utensils and cooking.
I'm all right. So what's your like favorite wild game to eat? Is it,
Hmm.
turkey? Is it elk? Is it, something different? And like, how do you like it prepared?
Man, I tell you, so lately I've been pretty boring, and so the fact I'm just trying to be on somewhat of a diet, and I guess a lifestyle change, but something we probably do 3 or 4 nights a week. My wife and I, we'll make a taco salad or we'll
Nice.
make tacos with deer meat, and so um, that's been something I've done a lot of here lately. And then, during turkey season, I'm frying turkeys. I mean, we fry them a lot, or if I don't do that, I'll wrap them in bacon, put them on the grill,
Oh
put
yeah,
some brown sugar on there, drizzle some honey.
you spitting
Um,
fire right now. Come on, man.
yeah, yeah. So my wife also makes a really good like venison like cheese dip, and
Okay.
so
Mm.
that's really good. Well, I've kind of cut that out lately, but um, lately it's been trying to eat a little bit healthier than anything. But come turkey season, I'll probably be back to frying some turkeys.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Man, I'm
How
all
about
about
you? What's your go-to?
yeah.
Man, my favorite. So, all right. So listen, if you're on a diet, Tyler, I would recommend not being in the kitchen I'm in. I'm not on a diet. So I would not do that. But so my favorite I think is honestly is a backstrap, either elk, uh deer, whatever. So I take that backstrap, I slice it really thin, uh I pound it out, tenderize it, season the meat, and then I get a bowl of flour. I season that. I flour it up, put butter in the pan, put onions in there, garlic, fry that bad boy up, set it to the side to rest. While that's resting, all that juices and stuff that's in the pan, I make a gravy with all that. And then
Oh,
I usually make some rice or potatoes and then whatever vegetable. That way I can say it's healthy, put it on the plate, and roll on. So that's probably my favorite. I'll have to make it for you sometime, for sure.
dude, I'd love that. Some gravy and some backstrap, man. That sounds really good. I just took some notes, so
Yeah,
I may have to use that.
let's do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll
So
teach you.
my favorite of all time. Now I love turkey, I love elk, I love whitetail. Axis deer is hands down my favorite meat of all time. I shot a free range axis deer in Texas, and I guess they got out of a fence at some point or another years ago, and they just ended up thriving in that part of the world. And it was on one of my buddy's ranches. I went and I shot it, and um, he told me, he was like, "Man, this is the best meat you'll ever eat in your life." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. Elk's pretty dang good. Turkey's pretty dang good. I don't know if you're telling me the truth." I ate that stuff. So what I did is I put it in burger, some of it in burger meat. Now I didn't do all of it in that. We did the back straps and steaks and all that too. But for this particular event, I did a pound of burger meat. I took a whole bag of cheese mixed in there with it, and then I took 6 eggs mixed in there, and then I mixed it all up really good so that way it'd stick together better with the eggs. And then I put this seasoning called Slap Your Mama, and we are no way, shape, or form sponsored by Slap Your Mama seasoning. I just like the way it tastes. Um, Sprinkle that all over the top, mix it up real good. Then I put it on a iron, or put it in the iron skillet on the grill with some butter in the bottom of that iron skillet, and sear burgers like that. And oh man, you want to talk about unbelievable with that cheese mixed in the
Dude, that
meat.
sounds good.
It holds all the moisture in there, and so you don't have to worry about drying it out or anything like that. It just keeps all of it intact. And whoo, you want to talk about good. I think I ate 3 burgers that day. I just couldn't stop, and then I was miserable the rest of the day, but it was worth it. It was
Yeah,
absolutely worth it.
that sounds super healthy also.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
it's absolutely not
Exactly.
healthy. I don't know if you've noticed my physique, but I am not what you would classify as a healthy, in shape human. I am a little bit thick in the hip, a little bit thick. But guess what? I don't get
Hey,
cold.
you're supposed to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
You're
right.
supposed to enjoy it. That
Yeah.
that's my whole deal. Like, come turkey. I mean, I like putting them on the grill too, and I've tried it some healthy ways. But to
Hmm.
me, man, when you get a turkey tasting like a Chick-fil-A nugget or better,
Yeah. Yeah.
frying them, man, that's when I
Yeah.
I love them. And you can get them tasting as good as Chick-fil-A, if not a touch better.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that
Oh yeah.
100%. So, with turkey season being right around the corner, aside from what you've got going on in your life, do you have any plans for this spring to do anything cool or go any cool places to hunt? Anything coming up?
Yeah, nothing cool. I told y'all before we started, but I'm expecting my first one. My wife and I are in a couple of weeks, so we're gonna have a
Wow.
little girl.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you, man. I appreciate
Hmm.
that. We're really excited, nervous. She's due March 13th. I do feel like it could be any day now, though, and so that's kind of my priority right now. I have, other than just looking at some trail cameras we have at our farm of some turkeys, I really have not thought much past that. I do have, we live right on the Alabama-Georgia line, and I do have some friends that I may go with to Alabama, but um, for me, that may be it. Nate Hosey, who's on our pro staff, he's actually in the office today, and he was here yesterday. But he's invited me up the last couple of years to go to Pennsylvania. I've always wanted to go up there, and their season has not come in till May 4th. So there's a chance if my wife will let me get out just for a few days, I may try to go up there and hunt with him. But for the most part, we're going to have some guests coming in the farm middle part of April. I'll maybe go to Alabama the 5th and 6th for a hunt with banded apparel. And that's really it. So nothing too new and crazy, but I will try to get out a couple of mornings at least
Yeah.
on our farm here in Georgia.
Well, I mean, it
That's
sounds like you got a lot of cool things planned. They're just not turkey related.
That's right. A lot of blessings and cool things planned, but like my wife said, and I agree, there's plenty of times for turkeys. I'll have
Absolutely.
plenty of more turkeys in our future, and hopefully one day be able to take my little girl with me by my side too.
Heck yeah, dude.
Absolutely. When we had our first, I had this opportunity to go tarpon fishing like 2 weeks after he was born. And I was like, man, I probably shouldn't even ask my wife, but I'm going to anyway. This could turn out bad, but I'm still going to ask. And she looked at me and she said, go. I want you to go. I'm good. I'm just going to sit here and hold this baby, and you're not getting to hold him anyway because he's mine. I was like, all right, cool. So I went and we had a great
Yeah.
time. But that's what my wife has always wanted. That's her dream, is to have children. So she is hands down the best option I could have ever been blessed with for that, and to be a partner. I mean, she just is a boss when it comes to taking care of the kids, doing all the things that I am not very good at. I'm not really good at doing the laundry and that sort of stuff. I mean, I can do it, but she is just such a boss all the way around in everything that she does. Her work life, she has a good balance of all of that. But when it comes to taking care of the kids, I have a huge, huge respect for her and the way she cares for them. I mean, it's unbelievable just to sit back and watch how well those babies are provided for. And that was one of the reasons I married her, was because I knew that I would never have to worry about anything when it came to my kids, their needs, anything like that. She is such a nurturer. I'm telling you, she is unbelievable. And I'm sure your wife will be the same way.
Yeah, I mean, she has, right? She's a rock star. I mean, pregnancy is something that if the shoe were on the other foot and it were me, I'd be complaining every second.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I would handle it like a wuss. And, she's just been a rock star through the whole process. And as we get here toward the end, I mean, she's hardly complained one time. And I know she's going to be a great mother. Part of the reason why I married her, along for many other reasons, but she's handled it well. And, I know we're both just excited to meet our little girl, and, hopefully it will be any day now and things will go smoothly.
Yeah,
I'm sure they will, man.
They're going to go great.
So surely you've got. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that little girl is going to melt your heart. I'm just telling you, I've got a little girl, and when she looks at me and smiles, I'm like, dude, my heart just melts into this little soft person that I never thought I could be. I look at her and I'm just like, man, this baby is the sweetest, cutest thing ever. And I hold her, and she's now to the point where she can say daddy. And that just like, oh man, it's like, dang, she said daddy, what? It's the craziest thing, just sitting there watching that little girl. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Teddy. He's my boy, and me and him have a very, very special bond. But Daisy changed my life in a totally different way. Having the little girl too. And it was really good for me to have the boy first and then the little girl, because it just made a super cool dynamic for me. And, man, it was just God's will for me to to have that in my life. And, children are a blessing. So I am very thankful that, we have this opportunity to have kids and, be parents. I mean, there's nothing greater than being a parent.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's something that I've always wanted to be, and it'll be any day now. I know it's going to change my life, but I've seen it just with my little sister. She's changed my dad in so many ways, and for the better. My dad is definitely wrapped around her finger, and if I'm anything like my dad, I know I'm gonna be the same way.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you will.
So, I'm the only one here that's not a parent or soon to be parent. So I usually focus on my little turkeys, my little yearlings, and like what I can do to help them. It's kind of where my headspace is always at. So like I saw that you were burning the other day. Is that something that you guys do a lot, just to try to help out those poults and other things, like future generations of turkeys, and like what else do you do to help out that habitat and the population?
Yeah, I mean it's a constant process, right? I mean we've done it for about 10 years now. We have a guy that comes in 2 weeks out in February, and he'll trap for 2 weeks, and that's helped a ton. And then one of our farm managers, Wes, if you follow any of what he does on Facebook, I mean, I think it's been now, I don't know about today, but about 10 days straight, he has caught 7 coyotes. And I mean, that's
Wow.
even after we trapped just a couple of weeks ago. So he's caught 7 just on his own trapping. And man, our turkey numbers, I talk to our state and, people that hunt in and around us, and it's not great. I mean, I think our numbers are down, Alabama, Georgia, but man, our turkey numbers are really good. They're probably better than they've ever been. And I feel like I've probably said that for the last 4 to 6 years now. We've had a really healthy population, and then, burning. We have about 1,200 acres. The property that I was burning on the other day, 1,200 acres. I think we burned about 500.
Wow.
So, there was like 6 of us that went out there and did that. And just, turkeys love a fresh burn, that undergrowth coming through, just builds really good and healthy habitat for them. But that between the trapping that's, we try to do constantly, and staying ahead of that. I mean, you feel like you get ahead and you do enough, like maybe one year, but it's just something you have to do every year. And it's hard to manage. We're lucky to have a team of us that really go after that pretty hard. But if it wasn't for that, I mean, I think our turkeys would be, turkeys just got so much going against them.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to predators, snakes, hawks, coons, man, a turkey, for them to make it, I mean, it's really a miracle in a sense, because
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
there's so many that just don't even get hatched. And then when they do get hatched, I mean, it's just that, the hen protecting them is, um, it's a lot of work. So, we try to put everything in the turkey's favor that we can, but at the end of the day, Mother Nature's still Mother Nature, and you can't control it all. But we do think that having the raccoons knock back a lot, the coyotes, armadillos, rattlesnakes when we see them, like, it was funny. I think a few years ago, it may have been 3 or 4 years ago, I think we put 2 Spartan cameras out on a couple of nests. And I think within 24 hours, a rat snake came and destroyed both of them.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
And, you just don't ever think, you think about a rat snake being a good snake,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but it just shows you that turkeys, even with, a rat snake, man, they just, on top of everything else, uh, it's hard for them to survive. So, we try to put as much work into it and trapping into it, to just provide them the best habitat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
for
Ben and I
sure.
trap a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like trapping's almost a lost art form in a sense. Like I feel like a lot of people kind of got away from it, whether that's because of, I guess the prices of, fur and pelts or whatever's gone down. But, eat. I always tell people, like, even if you just trap just for your turkeys, that's all I ever do. I mean, like, I wouldn't look at it as a something to do to make money. Just do it just to help out your turkey population.
Yeah, I mean, for if you're a turkey hunter and you keep your land to primarily hunt deer and turkey, turkey especially, man, you almost have to do it. It's just a
Yeah.
necessity. And it seems like you think, man, you do this for a couple of years, you catch, 20 coyotes, and you're thinking, man, this ought to really help out. And then the next year you catch just as many. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't ever seriously get ahead of it. It's just something you constantly got to stay in front of and never quit because, I think whenever you catch and kill them, new ones just move right on in.
Yep.
So it's just it's a work in progress, but something you got to do.
Yeah, no, I
I
agree with that
totally agree.
100%. We have a farm here in Tennessee, Sinking Creek Ranch, and man, the first year that we got on that place, we went and listened, no gobbles, no nothing. You might hear a faint one here and there. I mean, we had them on camera, but they just weren't very responsive, and I started trapping. And the first year I caught 43 raccoons off that place and a couple coyotes and foxes and some other stuff. But talk about a change. It was such a drastic change in one season of trapping
Yeah.
that I couldn't even fathom the results of that. I was not expecting it to be such a huge turnaround from the time that we started trapping to the next turkey season. Now that we're going on year 3 of trapping, it has just exploded our turkey population because we are, giving the turkeys some kind of fighting chance. And like you said, to your point, you don't just trap 1 year and then it's like, oh yeah, we're good. It's a perpetual thing that you have to keep doing year in and year out. Because you're never going to catch all the raccoons. You're never going to catch all the possums or all the coyotes or any of that stuff. You're just not going to do it. So I think though that the
Yeah.
more you do it and the more you put pressure on those predators, the more they're going to kind of avoid those areas, which could in turn give those poults a chance. Maybe a chance to even be hatched.
Hmm.
Because I feel like once they're hatched, they at least have some kind of a fighting chance, especially when they can get to the point that they can fly.
That's right. That's right. It's all about just giving them a chance. I mean, just being hatched, man, what a miracle.
Yeah.
I learned, just here recently, I mean, hens, you think about them nesting, you think about it just being maybe like in the spring, but a hen can nest all the way until August,
Mhm.
so I mean, you just got to give them as much time as you can and just try to stay ahead of it. And that's a lot of nest up until that point. Um, so again, got a lot working against them, but if
Mhm.
you can do your part and help out to increase those odds, I mean, I think we're proof that it can definitely help. And I feel like we've sustained a very healthy population on our place.
No,
It's
that's
great.
that's awesome to hear.
That's what I love,
Absolutely
dude.
awesome to hear. Because I was actually going to ask if y'all did any trapping or anything like that. So that's great. I'm glad y'all do. That is phenomenal, and I think that plays a crucial role in you know conservation itself, which is so important because a lot of people don't realize that 90% of hunting is conservation. It's going out there doing the work. And, I talked to somebody a while back and he was like, man, how do I grow bigger bucks? And I blew his mind when I said it starts at your fawns. It starts at your does, because that fawn, that's a buck fawn, that's your 5 year plan. That is where it all begins. So if you worry about your does and
Hmm.
worry about them getting the right nutrition they need to make the right milk to feed those fawns to get them jump started, that's when you start building your herd and truly growing everything that you got. You got to start from the ground level. I mean, yes, do you have bucks that you can grow like that you've got their 2 year olds? Yeah, sure, you can do that. But in a longevity sense, having what you need in a conservation situation or mindset for all the deer to grow, turkeys as well, having clover plots, having chufa plots, burning, giving them every opportunity to survive and to flourish. That is the goal. That's what we're trying to do is, you know, give them everything that they need. And I feel like that, it's far more than just killing a deer. That to me is the bonus. That is the exciting point. It's like, yeah, we did it. All this work finally paid off. That's what it is to me. But and I can tell it's the same way with you. Y'all are very minded for conservation.
Yeah. I mean, when you're a landowner, you're hands-on. I mean,
Yep.
it's just if you want to, have reach, max potential of that property, it's work all the way around, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not just, having the land is one part of it, but you realize 12 months out of the year, it all goes together into sustaining turkey populations, having big deer. It's not just a 3 or 4 month season for either, man. That it's everything that you do and the work you put into it, that's
It,
all conservation and part of building a very healthy and sustainable habitat for both.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a grind, really.
It's a
I mean,
grind. It's a
yeah,
ton of work.
yeah. And I feel like, especially in your case, you've known your life to be a grind. I kind of feel like, because it's a 12-month process. I'm sure this outdoor industry, and especially in the camo space, I'm sure it's a 12-month grind too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny. I think I had somebody ask me at the NWTF, and I've heard people ask my dad this over the years. People just don't ever think about the business side of it, right? I mean, we have
Yeah.
1,200 licensees that we cater to every day, and we have a full team on staff here. But somebody asked me, they were like, when it's not deer season, like now that it's over, like what do you do now? And I'm like, man, we have full-time jobs,
Yeah,
right?
we
I
got
mean,
a
it's
business.
yeah, I mean, deer hunting is just something that is not, we don't make a living deer hunting. We don't, the TV shows aren't very profitable. I mean, it's just, we go out there, it's a deal that we put out content, hopefully that people enjoy it. But, our business is really what, fuels everything that we do here. And so we have full-time jobs. Again, 1,200 licensees, have about 70 employees in here. So it's a constant grind. I would say that between January and March, probably our busiest times of year, as a lot of our teams are getting ready for fall of 24 this year. Getting product on the shelves, figuring out how we're going to support our partners and licensees. So yeah, it's a constant grind, but we're here for it. And I think that the camo landscape is obviously, as if y'all have seen it as well, probably since about 2015, 2016, it's changed drastically. Where it
Hmm.
was just Realtree and mossy oak for many, many years. Now there's so many different camo patterns and brands, and I think that's just part of the evolution of anything.
Hmm.
That's just part of business, and we feel like we've adapted well. But it's that's just the nature of business, and it's been a fun journey up to this point, but um, it's definitely changed a lot.
So how does a company like Realtree stay ahead of all these other companies coming in? Kind of like, how do y'all like to stay ahead of the pack? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, I think for Realtree, there's maybe one or two others that are kind of the same way. I mean, Dad's always, had the motto of, we're going to have the most effective camo patterns out there. Where I do think you have camo patterns now, it's more of a stylistic thing. People may not worry so much about blending in as much as they are on, they almost they wear something to stand out on purpose. And that's not saying anything bad about those companies or brands. I mean, obviously people have gravitated, to some of those, but, we constantly, whether it's Realtree Edge, Max 7, Timber, we're working on new patterns all the time that, we'll probably have some come out later this year. We test those patterns a lot. We take it to different parts of the country, test it at different distances, different lighting. How does it look up in a tree? How does it look on the ground floor? Like with APX and Edge, Dad tries to have, the most realistic and effective camo patterns out there at any distance, any time of day. And I do think for us, if we stay the course and always, live by that motto, I think, hopefully it'll pay off for us in the long run. But there's no doubt that you definitely have a portion now that where maybe that's not as important as it once was. But that's something, between some of the legacy patterns, doing that on some of the new patterns. Like we talked about the old school patterns earlier, like that's something that has come back in a big way. And we have a lot of demand for bringing back, whether it be hardwoods, um, extra brown, classic, original. I do feel like for us, we have a lot of different ways we could go with it, which is probably, beneficial for Realtree.
I agree. That sounds good.
Yeah, no, that is outstanding. Love seeing what you guys do. You always put out excellent content, and always staying ahead of the game and everything that you do. And I really do appreciate you coming on this podcast and being a guest on here. It's been a phenomenal journey. So thank you on behalf of me and John for taking the time to be on here with us. And I was thinking we still left a lot of meat on the bone for deer season. If you want to, we can circle back and do another episode during deer season, maybe talk more about whitetail specifically.
No, I appreciate. Thank you guys for having me on. You cut out there just a little bit, Ben, but I think I got most of that. But I do appreciate you guys. I know we talked about doing this for a little while, and look forward to hopefully doing it later in the year and more in the future. But appreciate y'all's time this morning.
Hey, I appreciate you, Tyler. I do have one more quick question though.
What you got?
I see that football helmet behind you.
Yeah.
I know you went to Ole Miss. So what do you live and die by in the fall? Is it deer or is it college football season?
Yeah, it's definitely a combination of both, right? So a lot of people may not know this, but my dad, he played football at Ole Miss.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So he was a year behind Archie Manning. So dad was a wide receiver.
Oh.
And so I grew up, since I was 8 or 9 years old, going out there to Oxford to football games. But, deer hunting's definitely, if I have a chance to stay home and hunt versus going to a football game, for a big deer, I'll probably hunt over that. But football is something we do have a home out there. Our family goes to. My sister's going to Ole Miss in the fall, but
Nice.
Big Ole Miss people. And that football helmet that you see behind me, the white one, that's the one we did, for the last 2 years that Ole Miss has worn in our Realtree wave pattern. And then we have another pattern that we'll release. It's a different color and style this fall. So Ole Miss will have a completely different look with Realtree. But, that I would probably say just because of how close our family is with Ole Miss and the community there in Oxford and how much that school has meant to all of us, out of all the things Realtree has probably been on in the last, close to 40 years, like that's been one of my highlights. It's been really cool to see when you see a team run out there with your own pattern. And I think for my dad, it's just like, wow, like I don't think there's really any team in college football that's done anything quite as unique and different like that. So, one of the coolest things that's probably happened to any of us.
I agree. Well, dude, that's all I've got for today. Where can people find you at, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Tyler Jordan. Instagram on there. Twitter's the same. Facebook, I have a Facebook account. Obviously, Realtree Outdoors on Instagram, at Realtree on Facebook, I think. But and then we have our show Realtree Road Trips at Realtree Road Trips on Facebook and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, that's all we've got for today. Please make sure that you guys subscribe. We're on anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks for coming on. Tyler, thank you again for your time, dude. Really
thank you, guys. Appreciate
Absolutely.
y'all.
All right. Y'all have a great day. For all things Rooted Podcast and Rooted Television, and I mean hats, shirts, hoodies, and other merch, check out our friends at CH Lone Star Pro and the link that is in our description.